Welcome back to the My Latin Life podcast. Since 2014, My Latin Life has been your trusted guide to traveling and living in Latin America. My guest today is Martin Canabal from Electric Americas. He was one of the first people to ever cross the entire Americas in an electric car, all the way from Alaska to Uruguay. I want to hear all about this trip. Martin, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me here, Vance. It's great to hear your podcast and an honor to join in today.
Absolutely. We've had a couple different overlanders on the podcast, all gasoline overlanders, I guess. We've had people who have been to every country in the world on the podcast. So a lot of guests. I love hearing from explorers, and I love what you guys were doing. The way I found Electric Americas, Martin, is I was specifically looking to see if someone had done this before, because I had this idea to do it in a Tesla. And then I found you guys, and you did it a while back too, when there was even less charging options. So maybe you could tell people a little bit about your journey, when you did it, how you did it.
Of course, yes. We ended the trip in January from last year, but I've been planning this trip for a long time. I call it the impossible trip.
January 2023.
2023,
so
the formal.
Like a year and a half ago, you finished. Okay, cool.
Exactly. The formal trip is from Alaska to Ushuaia in Argentina. We started in June, the 1st of June of 2022, and we ended in December of 2022 in Ushuaia. That's the formal trip. But our trip was much longer than that, because we were in California, in San Francisco, and we had to bring the cars to Alaska. And trust me, that's not an easy feature. And then from Ushuaia, our final destination was in Punta del Este, where I'm living right now with my family. So it was a long trip, almost 40,000 kilometers, and it was incredible. And it was the best thing I think I did in my life till this day. I hope to have some more adventures, but this was, I call it the impossible trip. Not because I thought it was impossible, but having all the pieces together to start the trip was super difficult. But we did it, so here we are.
And it took you about 6 months?
It took us 8 months in total.
8 months, okay.
Yeah, we spent, it was 7 months from the formal trip from Alaska, Anchorage to Ushuaia, Argentina. But then to bring the cars to Alaska were 2 weeks, and then from Ushuaia to Punta del Este was another 2 weeks.
So that's pretty fast.
Eight months total. It was super fast because I have 2 kids. I have a family, and of course they joined us for maybe half of the trip of the adventure, but they were not in for the whole trip. Lorenzo turned 1 during the trip, and Mateo turned 3 during the trip, so they are quite small.
Oh, wow.
It was challenging for them. Of course, when they were in the trip, we slow a little bit the pace, because it was long hours of traveling and working, because we recorded a documentary that we can talk about. So yes, 8 months. It was. I think it was the fastest we could do with electric cars. I think it would be difficult to do it faster than that, at least when we did it.
Right.
Luckily, I think the charging infrastructure is growing every day in every country of all Latin America, and I think it will be every day is easier to do it, respecting the charging of the cars.
Yeah. We definitely need to talk about this to get the point across. So what Tesla did you do it in? It was there were Model 3s, it looked like?
3 and X. We planned to do it in two Model X.
Two vehicles.
2 cars.
Okay. Yeah.
2 vehicles, because the trip started. We were living in San Francisco, and we started to plan to come back to Uruguay with my family before we had kids with Anna. That this was 2018, 2019, and then I realized, well, I don't want to I didn't want to come back to Uruguay by plane. I told my wife when we when we landed in Miami. I remember we landed. We moved to the US because she wanted to study abroad an MBA, and I joined. I was the spouse for those years. The 2 years were 7 years in total, but it was a blast. But when we landed, I told my wife, Anna, I'm not coming back by plane. I'm sailing or I'm driving back to Uruguay. And she thought it was a joke, and but it was not. I was really it was I, my plan was that to come back or
Uh,
sailing or driving. So yeah, ask me.
so what, you just like already had a Model X because you're living in San Francisco and you're like, let's do it.
No, I didn't have any car at that moment. That was a dream, and at the moment it was a dream. And then when we started to, okay, it's time to go back to Uruguay. Uh, why? I told her, well, I'm gonna plan the trip then. And at that moment I was developing an app called Life Tripper. It was an app for travelers, for and everything lined up. I was going to use the trip to make my app known to the rest of the people. So I say, okay, let's do it. Let's drive. Let's drive an electric car from San Francisco to Uruguay. And then I say, well, why not Alaska to Ushuaia? Uh, it hadn't been done. I didn't know it was possible, but and everyone told me it was a crazy idea and it was impossible. I knew it was possible because I started researching everything I could research about overlanding, about electric
Mhm.
cars, about distances, about uh, how to charge, how to fix like an electric car. And then one day I convinced myself I could do it, and I called a friend called Oliver. He's a filmmaker, and I told him, Oliver, you have to help me to film this because if I'm doing this, we have to film this. And he was the first person to. Of course, he told me, Martin, you're crazy planning this, but he was the first person to tell me, I'm going with you. This is possible. Let's do it. And that's how
Mm.
Electric America was born. It was
Yeah. And
like
I
luck.
was following you guys even I think I found it when you just finished something like that, like over a year
Mhm.
ago. So for the
Uh-huh.
audience, for reference for the audience, I was actually trying to get these guys on the podcast like a year ago. I think I was speaking more to Oliver. I kind of forget,
Maybe.
but we dropped the thread, and so we finally got you guys. And it's insane. I read about certain pieces of it that'll ask you about maybe a little later in the conversation. So you got your
Mhm.
filmmaker. You somehow obtained a Model X and a Model 3.
Yeah, well, the plan was to use two Model X. Why? Because it's the bigger, so we can have a lot of room to
Yeah, yeah.
filming gear, sport gear. We are kite surfers. I paraglide. We are surfers, so we had a lot of gears in the beginning. I didn't have kids at that moment, by the way. Like it was before having kids,
Mm,
uh, and then but life changed. Things happened. One day we were here in Punta spending New Year's Eve, and my wife told me, "Hey, Martin, I have some news for you. We're getting ready to a party the last day of the year, and I'm pregnant." She told me, "Oh, beautiful," but I also thought, "Oh man, the trip is over," because it's impossible to do it with a newborn.
mhm,
And so it was the first time I canceled the trip. Uh, I'm going. I'm saying different thing, but why Model X? Because it's the car we
right.
can have a lot
Most
of
space.
stuff, and yeah, and because you have suspension that can goes up and down. So for some roads that we thought we were going to drive and we did, it's better to have a better space, a clearance from the ground. The Model X was it's perfect for this trip, but they're very expensive. They're very expensive.
Hmm.
So at the end, we couldn't fundraise a lot, enough money to buy two cars. So we could fundraise for one car. And I already had my Model 3 in San Francisco. And I told them, oh, fuck it. I'm doing it with my car, but I'm doing this. And that's what we did. So I use a
And you,
Model
you
3,
actually
not the best
took
car.
the Sorry, you took the step of getting a couple sponsors and doing a fundraising campaign. So, what did you use?
We did.
Kickstarter or?
Yes. Uh, we did use Kickstarter so we could fund the production of the documentary, not to fund the trip itself.
Uh-huh.
But yes, and we had some sponsors and they were amazing. But the amount of money that we raised was just as a small part of the total budget that we need. So we literally asked for a loan to buy the Model X. I already had the Model 3, and we decided to do it one way or another, and we did. And then the everyday expenses. I was living in San Francisco, and I don't know if you know, but it's hell super expensive. So not having rent there, it was we could live almost with the money of our rent in San Francisco.
Hmm.
And I had saved some money, of course, but in the end, I sold a lot that a lot that I had, so I could fund the trip, and
A
that's what I did.
lot. So you sold
Yeah,
some
like a
land.
land, a
Un
chacra,
terreno.
Spanish,
Chácara.
un terreno, cinco hectáreas.
Yeah. 5 hectares. That's
Yeah,
bastante.
yeah,
Okay.
it was big, but for me, the trip was the most important thing at that time, and I had to do it. I was obsessed. I think the only reason we could do it is because I was totally obsessed with the idea. There was nothing could happen that would make it. This is like I was going to do the trip. I had
Yeah.
first it was Mateo when he was born, and of course I canceled the trip. But then I start thinking, well, some overlanders, some families, they travel the world with kids, so why couldn't I do it? And I remember I told Anna, my wife, and she was, oh yes, Martin, we could do it. I'm sure she was she was sure we were not going to do it. That's why she said, yeah, Martin, we can think about it. But the idea was in me, and it started growing, and I start planning to do the trip with one kid.
Hmm.
So at one point, it was 2020, February 2020. The team we all met in San Francisco to film like the to film what we were going to launch on Kickstarter. So we rented a Tesla. We didn't have a Tesla, a Model S, so we rented a Tesla. We rented. We filmed. It was great. We finally met plan and plan the details of the trip, and it was going to start in June 2020 in Alaska. And we had an advisor called Susie May. She was in Hawaii at the time, and I called her. We were in the Tesla having a conversation, and she told me, "Hey, Martin, aren't you afraid of COVID?" I said, "Why?" Well, the world is like shutting down. It was in remember February 2020, and no, don't worry. It will be in 2 weeks. We will be in something else. Don't worry about COVID. Well, we did worry about COVID. In March, the world closed down, and we have to cancel the trip again because, of course, because of COVID. So that was the second time I canceled the trip, but I
So
still
how
had it
did
in
you
my
get the
mind.
car all the way? How did you get the car all the way up to Prudhoe Bay, Alaska? That's very remote, right?
Yeah, we didn't go to Prudhoe Bay. We went to Anchorage at the end.
Okay, you started
We
in Anchorage. Okay.
yeah, we drove from San Francisco to Tacoma Port, and then we ship it from Tacoma to Anchorage.
Hmm.
We ship it, the cars because the Alaska side and the north part of Canada there are no charging networks. So it's a quite difficult part of the trip. So we didn't want to drive up and then drive down. Driving south was already a challenge, and we didn't we didn't have time to do it twice. So we ship it, and that's a I think that's a quite interesting and nice story how we ship it. At some
Okay.
point, we didn't have enough money to do it. When I decided to do it with Model 3 because we couldn't afford another one, and we didn't have enough money for the whole trip. And I told my team, you know what, I'm doing one way or another. If you want to join me, I would love to, but it will be a struggle. We want maybe we'll have to share rooms in a hotel, and do like we have to camp, maybe camping in Alaska, so we could charge the cars on RV chargers, and but we had to ship the cars to Anchorage. And I started researching how much it cost. It was like $12,000 to ship the car from San Francisco to Anchorage, money that we didn't have. And then I started, okay, we could drive, and then we could ship it with, we can send it in a ship. And I started researching. It was just the shipping from Tacoma to Anchorage was $6,000, and for us
Wow.
was money again we didn't have. And then I there was one company that had a button. So if you're an NGO and you have a special project, tell us about it. So I basically, we are an NGO. It's called Electric Americas Foundation. And so I told them, I wrote, I filled the form. I told them what our plan was. And for me, it was incredible. Like, as soon as I hit send, I heard my phone ring, and it was Toad Marit. And oh, I'm here. I'm from Toad. I just received your form. Tell me more about it. So I told them, and look, I have chicken bumps now. And she told me, well, I cannot decide by myself, but I'm pretty sure we can fund the shipment for your two cars from Tacoma to Anchorage.
Wow.
And for us, it was, for me, I remember sometimes I tell the story and I literally cry, because it was very, very important, because it was, okay, now we have the cars in Anchorage, so there's no way we can stop the trip. For me, it was, and they donate the shipment for two cars for us. And the most interesting part, like, we're filming a documentary about sustainability, and they had one of the first ships that when they dock, they shut down their diesel engines and they connect to the electrical grid. And
Mm,
that's something that's not normal. In normally they dock the ships, and the engine keep on running. It's because it's very expensive to turn it off and on. And
mm,
they because one of their sustainability mandates was, okay, we have to, when we're in port, let's put our emissions down, and that's why they do it. So it was a great, it was great to meet them, and we are forever grateful for that, because $12,000 maybe is not much for someone, for a company. For us, it meant that we could start the trip, so it was super, super important.
mm. And who was that gifted
Tote,
this?
it was a company called Tote, Tote Maritime.
Maritime.
Thank you, they were great.
Tote Maritime. Shout out. Amazing.
Yeah.
So you started in Anchorage. I imagine going down Canada and the US was a breeze. And then you get
No,
into.
no,
Okay.
I wish. Alaska has one supercharger, and it was not in our reach. And in the Yukon territory in Canada, basically no one's lives there. It's very desolate, and no charging network almost at all. So the first part of the trip, we had to solve how to charge the cars, and but in the good side is Americans and Canadians they have big RVs, and these big RVs plug to the power, and they consume a lot of energy. So that's what we did. We used the RV parks to charge to charge. We had
Mhm.
our mobile chargers, and they have 30 amps and 50 amps, and for us that's a lot. And so we, in the first part of the trip in Canada, and the northern part of Canada, we basically camp in RV parks and charge the cars.
Uh huh. That
So
makes
it
sense.
was not
RV.
easy. It was not easy, but it was doable.
A lot of overlanders do that, right? They go to RV parks because then they get
Yeah,
showers and stuff.
exactly. And they have is an amazing infrastructure. If you want to travel with RV or even camping in motorcycles, yes, you have RV parks, and they have, yes, it's super, super. it's amazing having that infrastructure that we don't have here in Latin America. I think that's something we have to work on in Latin America to have more
True.
RV parks, so people can overland and travel around Latin America a little more easier.
It's not a bad idea. I need to write that business idea
Yeah.
down. RV parks, Latin. Okay. My Latin life RV parks coming in the future. Yeah. So, and I guess for people who are unfamiliar with electric cars, and I actually had to look this up when I was sort of like daydreaming this trip as well, is that obviously the supercharger network is pretty limited in some places, but you can use a traditional socket, or better yet, a
Exactly.
like a what's it called, like a washing machine socket, which has even more power.
Yes.
But you can
Yes.
do like
Like
a normal plug, like just as if you're charging your
normal
computer,
outlet.
normal
Absolutely.
outlet, just and it takes, I think, like 24 hours to do a full charge.
Oh
Longer,
no, 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 no! Much longer than that.
much longer.
Now,
Okay.
so to charge a car, you have maybe probably three different options. The best one is having a supercharger. If you have Tesla, it's incredible. The car tells you, okay, stop here, 15 minutes, charge it, and then you continue for 200 miles, and then you can charge here 20 minutes. So it's super fast, super reliable. If you have superchargers, forget about having an IC car, a combustion engine car.
Hmm.
Electric cars are the best. If you don't have superchargers, like here in Uruguay, it's a little more difficult. So the second way is having level two chargers. They are not superchargers. Some are fast, some are slow. Okay. Sometimes you can charge overnight with level two, and sometimes you can charge in 2 or 3 hours, in 1 hour with a level three charger.
Hmm.
But then if you don't have any of those, you can literally plug into a normal outlet and charge your car. In the US, Canada, and to Colombia, Central America, you have 110 volts. Okay,
Hmm.
and a normal outlet has 12 amps of maximum power. So doing the math, the Model X would take 7 days to charge. 7 days to charge. That's a lot.
Wow.
The Model 3 has a smaller battery. It will take 5 days to charge. So one of my main roles during the trip was to how to change that from 7 days to 1 or 2 nights. And how we do it, I had extension cords, and I had to ask the owner of the property if I could plug the wires to the breaking box directly. So then we could have, instead of 12 amps, we could have 20, 25, even 30 amps. It was not an easy task.
The breaker
My yeah,
go
directly,
go
yes, it
go
was.
direct to the breaker box. Bring this guy's
Exactly.
whole power grid of his house down.
And I didn't burn down any place that we charged it. So good. I almost did it once. So that was part of my role, like how to charge it faster. And most of the time, people were like, I think people were amazing. The thing we learned during the trip is that people are incredible. They want to help you. They like to help you. And most of the time, I think just a couple of exceptions, they were super helpful. I Someone come to my house and tell me, "Oh, Martin, can I charge my car here? Yes, can I plug this to the electric wire?" I don't know if I would say yes, because it's risky. But most of the people told us yes, and that's why we could do it in 8 months and not in a year or two.
Yeah, so I guess you got to be ready, right? I think I also saw you can get like solar panels, and there are ones, they're like aftermarket ones specifically for Teslas that you can like strap to the roof, or you can get those or you get these like ones that you can unfold
Yeah.
and like put on the ground at a campsite.
Uh, if you have time, yes, but I don't think that's today. That's the power that you can get from those kind of solar panels is not enough to charge the car in a decent time. So
Hmm.
today, that's not an option. Like the Cybertruck, the last truck that Tesla just recently launched, they told us that they had that in the back they will have solar panels. Then you could charge up to 30 miles a day, but they don't have it yet. I don't know if that's possible yet. So today, solar is to like solar is difficult if you want. We did charge in some solar places because we were in places that were out of the grid, but it took more than 1 or 2 nights. It took several days to charge. It was not
Yeah,
easy.
because some people they use these like Jackery boxes or these like mini generators, and at least it'll give you like 30 miles, so it's enough to get out of a squeeze type of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. I remember when I was planning. I even thought of bringing a Tesla Powerwall in my car, so I can, if there was a place that I couldn't charge, use the. But it was, I of course that was not a great idea. Difficult to implement. So yes, there are, but you have like it's incredible. We have a lot of places with electricity, and you just have to ask. In some places, we had to charge for 3 or 4 hours. So I would call, for example, a mechanical shop that they have a like a soldering unit, and I
Hmm.
knew they had a lot of power. And with Martin, we have to. We're gonna drive to your shop, and we're driving an electric car. can I plug can I plug my car to your, and most people would say yes. In the beginning, they didn't know who we were, and they were, of course, it was not easy. But most people, when they saw us, they were, oh yes, please do it. And then we told them our project, and we ended having lunch with their families, and it
Yeah,
was
yeah,
incredible. People were the most beautiful part of this trip.
that's
So yeah,
really cool.
you don't have you don't have a solar panel. You have a lot of people who can give you an electrical outlet. And by the way, of course, we offer them to pay for the electricity because
Uh-huh.
some I think one of the misconceptions is that the cars use a lot of energy, and it's not like that. At the end, we had to pay them like $5, $10, and normally we pay them more just for the favor. But the electricity cost for charging some hours was just a little bit.
Someone might be listening to this and say like, how the hell did they get through it in 7 months then if you have to go to a mechanic shop and have lunch with the family, and it sounds like you might have to stop for like a couple days to recharge type of thing.
Yes, we did. That's what we did. Like I spent literally 2 years planning for this, and I think I know now the Latin American map from
Uh-huh.
top to bottom. And so I have. Well, let me cancel this. And sorry, are you there? Sorry, I received a call. Let me put this in 1 second. Focus. Do not disturb. Um, yes, it was. So I can repeat the question because I received a call, and I
No
just
problem.
canceled it. And
Well,
now, uh,
let's talk about planning and like bit by bit. We'll talk about some planning stuff as we make our way down the Americas, because I kind of want to hear about every stage. In
okay,
Mexico, so it sounds like you made it through the U.S. and Canada with the help of RV parks. Uh, you get to Mexico. Did you do Baja California or did you do the
Baja,
mainland?
yes,
Okay,
Baja. So we started in Anchorage, the first Alaska and Yukon Territory RV parks, and then at some point in the south part of Canada, we had our first supercharger, and it was like, oh man, in 20 minutes having the car fully charged, it was like heaven. That was the easiest part of the trip. And then we could go even to Mexico with some superchargers. Our last supercharger of the trip was in Oaxaca in Mexico. But in we took the Baja California. It
uh-huh.
was one of my dreams to spend some weeks in Baja,
Because
and
you're a
and
kite
it was it's
surfer,
truly. I'm a kite surfer and a paraglider. Yes, so
and
Baja
that's
was
really big over
incredible.
in Baja. Yeah.
It is, yeah, it is, and we had
Oh
a
yeah.
blast. We didn't have a lot of windy days for kite surfing, but we surf and we paraglide, so it was quite amazing. In
Nice. And then
in
you
in
took the
Baja California,
ferry.
We
You
did,
took the
yes,
ferry
we
to
took the ferry
Mazatlan.
to Mazatlan. Exactly. It was like 18-hour ferry. It was a very very slow ferry, but it brought us to the other side, to Mexico, and Mexico is incredible. All Mexico is beautiful, and okay, in Mexico, we my family they joined us in San Francisco, and then until Ciudad de Mexico, and
Hmm.
then I continue without my kids, my wife and kids, because
Hmm.
it was we have to go fast, and Central America was amazing. Everybody tells, oh, weren't you scared about robbery, and about in Central America? And no, the reality, I think the most challenging and dangerous part were Mexico. Mexico, you have to be super careful in the places you go. We had to change, for example, our route. We were going to go to Acapulco, and everyone in Mexico told us, "Don't go through Acapulco. It's not a good time to go there." And so we didn't. We went to Oaxaca.
Oaxaca.
The rest of Central America, oh, like we didn't have any problem in any country. Just the borders. The worst part of the trip was crossing borders,
Hmm.
bureaucracy.
The
It was
permits.
it was permits, and it just took us forever. We had to we spent one full day just for to cross one border, because
Which
it took
border was that?
hours and hours. All of them. I think we didn't like the easiest one was, of course, from Alaska to Canada, Canada to US, US to Mexico was okay. But then the rest, oh man, be prepared. You need all the paperwork and photocopies of the paperwork, and a lot of patience, It was the worst part of the trip, but it was without that.
And like overlanders have this pretty well documented, kind of crossing the borders, where you need insurance, where you don't, this kind of thing. Was there anything special about doing it in an electric car? Like, did they ask for more stuff or different requirements because the car was electric?
Well, yes, it was a surprise, because I think most of the borders ask you, okay, what kind of engine, how many cylinders? Oh, we don't have any cylinder. No, what's it? So it was funny. So what? In some was okay, put zero, and some they had to. That's what we took so long. They had to ask for a different permission, because we were the first electric car to cross the border. I think we were probably the first car to cross most of the borders in all the countries we went through. So it was kind of surprised, but it was not a problem. It was like, oh, what, electric? And most of the time it was easier. Some of them were difficult, because they had to change the systems, and so they could put zero on the number of cylinders. Literally, we had that question in some places. So
Wow,
yeah, it
that's
was it
that's
was it was
honestly
a funny
epic.
side. Yeah, and they were, what, electric? Are you driving an electric car? Like their faces were amazing, just to see what electric. It was great.
Do you think the fact that you're Uruguayan was disarming a little bit? Do you think if it was a couple gringos coming down, you would, or maybe people thought you were gringos at the start because you have a pretty fair complexion, and then you go like, no, no, no,
First,
soy Uruguayo, and then they're like, ah.
absolutely. First, they think I'm gringo. I had a car from California, a Tesla from California. So yes, and I'm kind of white. So yes, and then, but I speak Spanish, and not any Spanish, Uruguayan Spanish. So in the beginning, they thought we were from Argentina, because by the fact you are Argentinian when you speak like us. Normally we say, oh, I'm from Uruguay, and it was Uruguay soccer. Everything was solved. I think people like Uruguayans, because I don't know, we're likable. I don't know how to say that, but yeah, it was easier than being, I think, Americans. I believe,
And so
and
you
not
made it
Argentinians.
to
Sometimes they
go
were,
ahead.
oh, you're not from Argentina, Uruguay. and then they open their arms for
The
some reason.
Ronaldo
For some
fans.
reason, yeah, exactly. Messi fans.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
from Uruguay. We had Suarez here and Cavani.
yeah. Suarez.
And soccer is a big part of Latin America. It's incredible. And Uruguay is a miracle regarding soccer. And now we have the Copa America. We have a team play tomorrow. So it
Yeah,
was
yeah. The Copa America is starting.
yeah.
This is gonna
Copa.
date us because this will come out like a month from now.
Yeah.
But
Okay, perfect. Just
um,
sorry, I didn't want to say the date.
no, no, it's fine. It's fine. We're recording second half of June. So you made it to Panama. I believe you used the Overland Embassy, which I've visited in person.
Yes, I did. They're great. They're the best.
Good
Yes,
guys.
we they are, yeah, they're amazing, and they help us a lot. And like shipping the cars in containers from Panama to Colombia was not easy, and we didn't have time to lose, so we decided we could do it by ourselves, but we decided to go with them because they know what they're doing, and they know the people, they know the process, they know the paperwork, and that's what we did, and they help us a lot. We had to fix the car, and they help us with the tools, and they're amazing. I absolutely recommend them if you're doing this trip and you're crossing with a vehicle from Canada to Colombia. They're amazing.
Hey guys, quick break from the podcast to tell you about job stacking. If you're a remote or hybrid worker looking to maximize your earning potential, then Rolf Haltza, author of Job Stacking, guarantees you'll be able to double your income by implementing his paycheck multiplication layering method. This is the exact system Rolf has used to take his own income and those of many others beyond $20K a month. With this method, Rolf contractually guarantees that you'll be able to double your income in 45 days. So, if you're interested in unleashing your earning potential and doubling your income, then click the link in the description and book a call with Rolf right now. Hey guys, quick break from the episode to tell you about BitRefill. BitRefill allows you to shop online and in person without banks, converting your crypto directly into merchant balance. We're talking gift cards to Nike, Amazon, Apple, Airbnb, Hotels.com, and many more, all paid for with crypto. BitRefill offers more than 10,000 gift card options in 180 countries all across Latin America, including Brazil, Colombia, Mexico, Argentina, El Salvador, and many more. You can also apply the code MyLatinLife at checkout to get 10% back on your first purchase. Go to bitrefill.com for more information. And maybe this wasn't clear. Overland Embassy helps people get from Panama to Colombia, and I guess vice versa, because there's the
Yes,
Darien Gap and it's not drivable. So
exactly.
by necessity, if you want your car to continue on to South America, you have to ship it in a container from Panama City or Cologne, I guess, to Cartagena, right?
That's exactly like that.
And I believe, if my memory serves me, that in Colombia, you had a stretch when you disembarked in Colombia and you start driving towards whatever the south. You had a stretch there where you guys ran out of battery or almost ran out and had to go to someone's house, and that ended up being a surprisingly tough stretch.
Yes, we didn't run out of battery, but we had a super long stretch with no charging, with and even with few places to stay. So we contact like a it's like a hotel in the middle of nowhere. And again, hey, I'm Martin. I'm doing this trip in an electric car. Can we stay there? We want to stay there, but we had to charge our cars. And in the beginning, it's like a surprise, but we did it. And then we had to stay in that place for three nights so we could charge the cars. But we did it, and then we got to Medellin. It was one of the most like it was yeah it was difficult because it was a long stretch, and we didn't have plan B. If we couldn't and we were with my wife and kids, and this a little. We have to be a little more careful in the places you go and where we sleep.
Hmm.
So it was a challenging, but the guys were incredible. We like having 3 days resting was not bad at all. Also, because normally our rhythm was super intense,
Hmm.
and we were in a it was like a farm hotel in the middle of nowhere with a pool. And oh man, it was and the family, it was a family home, so they cook for you. And in the end it was amazing. Like that, some challenging things can transform in something super nice and beautiful like this, that moment. We did run out of battery in one place, but it's farther in south. I can tell you in a little bit.
Okay, we'll get there. And actually, just as show notes, I'm curious. So, U.S. and Canada, you could honestly sleep in the car pretty safe, right? Once you get into Latin America, sleeping in your car culturally not as common or as safe.
No.
So, what percentage were you doing throughout the whole trip? What percentage were you doing? Sleeping in the car or like in a tent, or there's a term for it, wild camping, what's the term? But how much were you like outside versus you
Yeah.
went to a hostel, hotel, whatever?
Yeah. Well, mostly Airbnbs and hotels, because we had to charge the car. Like sleeping was not only for sleeping, was for charging. So
Yeah.
our first priority was charging the cars. So if you camp, it's very difficult to get normal outlets. You can do it on RV parks, but in the rest of Latin America, you don't have RV parks. So by necessity, we had to stay in a house. Basically, we use Airbnb mostly, or some friends home. We like, luckily I think I have friends in every country of Latin America, so at least in every country I could stay in someone place that opened their homes for us. And of course, and we charge the cars. And some hotels, I remember in Iquique, I we stay in a big hotel, and let like to obtain permission to charge the car. Oh man, it was almost impossible. But it was 2 in the morning. I couldn't charge the car, and I was almost crying. I think by they saw me almost crying, and they let me charge the car. We had some of those stories.
So it sounds like very little like raw camping, very little raw camping, like you're
No,
always
yeah,
paying to camp, like
yes, yes,
you paid somewhere to stay almost every night.
almost every night. Yes, because
Okay.
like yeah, because of charging, and because of safety. Like we were worried in Latin America more than the US, and we had some rules that we had to follow. One of them was not driving at night,
Hmm.
because you just don't do it. Second was we always stay together, both cars as a team,
Hmm.
and and so we had and third, sorry, was if we stay in a place, the cars has to be on a garage. Because you like they're special cars. If they break to rob us, we couldn't continue. You cannot fix a Tesla window in any of those countries. So we had to follow these safety rules. So most of the time we had to stay in a home with a garage,
Six
or in a
months of
hotel with a garage.
garages. That's a lot of garages.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But
You
we
you
had to do it.
you put that car in like 100 different garages.
Or more, yeah. we,
No,
we
that
we
makes
had
sense
some
though.
weird place. I remember when we went up to a place called Punta Luna in Peru,
Uh huh.
in the middle of nowhere, in the desert of Peru near the coast. And we drove the Model X because the Model X could do the drive. The Model 3 couldn't do the drive because it was an off-road road. I don't know how to say that. So I remember where we parked the car in the garage, and I told myself, man, maybe this is the last time we'll see this car. But in the end, we came back, the car was there, and it was charged. And you know how we charge it?
How?
When I know something about Peru, they don't have earth. No, they have the two wiring for charging, and then I'm sorry, la tierra. How do you say tierra in English?
Earth?
Uh, grounding,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
ground. They don't have ground. So when I plug it, our chargers do not work without ground. So I literally had to put a metal stick in the ground, make my own ground, and connect to the charger, and it worked. Because the chargers, if they don't have ground, they won't work. They will be like a faulty with a red light, and we hate the red light in our chargers. But so we could charge it.
Okay, so let's keep making our way down the
Mm.
coast. Maybe we skip some stuff, but you made it
Okay.
from Medellin all the way to Punta Luna Surf Lodge in northern Peru. Peru's gigantic.
Oh man, it's super big. Yeah.
Takes a long time
In
to
the
get
meantime,
through Peru.
if we wanna, I think where I started in the middle, we were in Ecuador.
Uh-huh.
Ecuador it was nice, but we drove to the Ecuadorian Amazonas, to the jungle,
Mm-hmm.
and we had an ayahuasca. How do you call
Retreat.
it? Retreat. Oh, and it was incredible. I haven't done it in the past, and it was intense. And we were in the middle of the jungle with a shaman, and it was incredible. And then we drove from the Amazonas back, so we crossed the Andes again, back to Peru, and it was super. It was a super challenge, by the way. It was a super challenging part, not because like in miles was not a lot of miles. We could do it in range, but we had to go up the Andes for like very very high, and the
Mm-hmm.
car will consume much more when going up. So we almost couldn't do it, because we almost couldn't get to the highest part of the Andes with our range. It was a scary part. We thought we will have to I don't know. We didn't have plan B at that point, but we did it. So we got to the highest part of the Andes, and then going down, the car charged itself. I don't know if you guys know that.
Mm-hmm.
When you're going down a mountain, the car use the use the energy to charge the car.
Right.
So at the end, we got to I don't recall the city with enough charge, but it was
Okay, so
scary.
you only got to get up the mountain, and then the car can
Yeah,
charge on the way down.
exactly. Sometimes in
Yeah, and
Peru, I
those are
remember
big mountains. The Andes is big.
oh,
Like
it was big.
this is
It was
bigger
big.
than crossing, I don't know, Colorado or something. Like this is way bigger.
Yeah, in some places they are super high. I think the highest. I think we got almost to 5,000 meters in altitude, and that's a lot for even for breathing. In Argentina, we slept in a place that was so high we couldn't sleep, because it was 4,200 meters in altitude, and you don't have enough oxygen there. And so as soon as you start sleeping, your body tells you you can breathe, and so you wake up. And it was a bad night. It was amazing. One of the best stories we had. I can tell you later, but sleeping was not good. It was bad.
No,
But
tell
yes,
the
we're in
story.
Peru. Peru. Uh, well,
Well, okay,
we
we'll make our
we
way
went
down.
to because yeah. Well, so we're in Peru now. In Peru, Peru is amazing. It's a great country. But I also learned something super bad about Peru, and is that the trash. You're driving through the highway, and you see trash everywhere. You got into a city, and you see plastic bags and trash. I don't know why, and that's something Peruvians have to take care of. Peru is one of the best places. I love. I have friends in Peru. The food of Peru is the best. The waves of Peru are amazing. Everything. The people of Peru are great, but for some reason, that was one of the worst experience we had during the trip. And I promised myself I was going to do something about it, and I will, because we have to change that mindset. I don't know the causes. I don't know why they do it, but it's bad. So that's one of the worst experience we had. But the rest of Peru is amazing. So we went to Lima. We had some friends in Lima. We charged a car. Uh, our Anna and the kids were supposed to go to Peru to join us again, but the kids got sick those days. So I traveled to Uruguay a couple of days just to see them and back to continue the trip. Then we went to the south of Peru is also amazing. The Líneas de Nazca, we flew the Líneas de Nazca in Peru, and it was all of those part was incredible. But one day I got sick. We didn't got sick a lot during the trip, but in Peru one day I got sick. So I had like 40 degrees of fever. So I put my car to charge, and my teams Oliver and Tutti went to charge. Oh, they suffer a lot to like to charge. We couldn't find another place to find the second car. So it was a struggle, but in the end they could do it. Thank you. And we continued the trip the other day to this to Chile, to the northern part of Chile,
Mhm.
Iquique. And Iquique was amazing. From Iquitos, we went to 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 see a lithium mine in at the Atacama Desert,
Mhm.
because a lot of people they ask us, "Oh, electric cars. This is a sustainable trip, but lithium, but electricity." So I think there's a lot of misconceptions about lithium
Mm.
and how they mine it, and we didn't know. We were not sure. So we literally went to see a mining facility in the northern part of Chile, and for us was open mind. It was incredible to see. It's a huge operation, but then we learned that lithium, they get water from the ground, but it's salty water. It's water that you can use for anything else. And then they extract the lithium from this salty water. So people say, okay, you use tons of water to extract lithium, but it's not that's not true. The water that is salty water, and it's not the same. And driving through the Atacama Desert, also an experience that I won't forget. Amazing. And then from Atacama, we crossed to Argentina, and then we got to the point. So we had to cross the border, and we were around 4,000 meters, and we tried to kite surf, and on a lake in the Andes, and it was horrible. We couldn't breathe. Like try to kite surf on 4,000 meters is not a good idea. But in the end, we got late to the place we were going, and with the altitude, and it got super cold, and cold and battery does not get along very very well. So we knew we couldn't make it to our destination to charge, so we had to decide where to sleep, and we found a place called Puesto Sei, and it's basically 40 houses in the middle of nowhere in the Andes. It was 10 p.m. at night, and we got there. There was light in the police station, and so we stopped and we asked the police. There was one policeman, and we explained why we were there and if we could charge, and he said, yes, you can charge here. And it was funny because we got with the cameras, and because it was also an adventure, like it was an interesting part to film. So the Oliver and Tutti were filming while I was asking the policeman if we could charge, and he said yes. And then he told us, "Hey, but please don't film. This is my home. Like the police station was his home, was not the police station." And it was, "Oh, I'm sorry, we didn't know that." And so people on the town, I don't know, they approach us. Imagine seeing two uh, Teslas in the middle of nowhere. It was something new for them, and they told us they had like un hostal, like a hostel from
Mhm.
the town that we could sleep. So we were, oh man, great. and we got to the hostel, was just like some beds in a place, was super simple, but it was good enough for us. And I remember um, asking the manager, like the manager of the place, hey, I'm Martin, I have to charge, I have to put the wires to the breaker, the story of charging faster than the plug, than the outlet. And she looked at me, and she was, Martin, I don't know what you're talking about. Do you know what you're doing? She asked me. And I said, yes, I know. Do whatever you want. Just, yeah, do whatever you want. So that was the wow, do whatever you want. So we could plug the wiring directly to the outlet and charge overnight. And it was an amazing story. This is audio. I cannot show the pictures, but the place was surreal. It was one of the most beautiful parts of the whole trip. The northern part of Argentina, it's so beautiful, and I don't
Mhm.
know if people know that. I didn't know that. I'm from Uruguay, and it's like some hours driving from here. I didn't, it was the I think the biggest surprise of the trip was the northern side of Argentina. It's out of this world. It's beautiful. I
Like
recommend everyone.
Salta and Jujuy and all that.
Exactly. Oh, it's incredible. It's beautiful. The scenery, the people. Oh, I love that part. It was great.
That's awesome. Keep going for us.
Mhm. Okay. Then we took the Ruta 40. Ruta 40 is does has asphalt. How do you call it? It's a dirty road, so
Okay.
it was kind of difficult for the cars. And we got to our destination. Final destination in Argentina was Mendoza. At that point in
Hmm.
Mendoza, we spent some days there because it was Oliver's birthday, and some people from Uruguay flew to Mendoza to be with him during his birthday. And then
Hmm.
from Mendoza we crossed to Chile. And well, and crossing borders was always a struggle, and of course there was not an exception. When I present the documents, my the American titles do not have a due date. The document is valid forever until you sell the car, but they had like a small date printed. So the Chilean officer told me, oh, but this date is not valid anymore, you cannot cross. And imagine being in the middle of the Andes. Sorry. And they told me, no, you cannot do it. And I tried to research if there's anything I could do, and I spent 2 hours trying to figure out what to do. At the end, I realized there's nothing I could do. So I came back to him, and I saw him. I could see his back, and hey, can I have a word with you? But when he turned, was not him, was another officer. And then I explained the officer what was going on, and the other officer told me, "What? That's not true. You can pass. Boom, boom. Here you go ahead." And it was solved like that. Boom, from hell to heaven in 1 second, and we could cross the border to Chile. And it was scary, but at the end, everything works out all right.
I like these anecdotes because, yeah, these are the realities of it, right?
Yeah. Well, we had another one that I don't know if but it was early on in the border of Peru, from Ecuador to Peru.
Hmm.
I don't know if I should say this one. You will maybe you
I've
will
been
have to
there
delete this
to
one.
Tumbes, and that whole area is wild.
Exactly. So it was incredible. First, the border between Ecuador and Peru, there was the nicest one. Everything worked all right. You have only one border. It's not that you have to do like a Ecuadorian side and then the Peruvian side. Was everything in the same building. Much easier. Everyone was super helpful. And then when I present the documents, by the way, my car was under my wife's name, so I had a power of attorney that I
Hmm.
could use the car. But
Hmm.
then when I present, oh no, oh, but is Anna here? Is your wife here? No, no, she's in Uruguay. Okay, do you have the power of attorney? Yes, it's here. Oh, but this is where is the apostille of this document? What? The apostille? Like in any other border, they by the way, he was right. Like in the only like they requested to be the document to be from with apostille. That, I don't know if people know about apostille, but basically it's like a certification that the document is valid in other countries.
Yep.
And they told me no, you cannot pass. We cannot let you in to Peru without that document. It was Sunday 10 p.m. at night. And I was, oh man, what do we do now? And then I start researching apostilles, and I told them, can I talk to your boss to see if they can make an exception? So I went talked to the boss, and he told me no, there is no exception. You have to present the apostille. And can you give me an example? And he told me, oh, it can be an electronic apostille. And by the way, there's no such thing of an electronic apostille. I knew that. So I told him, can you show me what do you mean? So he showed me a document of some Germans that had gone through the same process a week earlier. So if I present you this, I can pass? Yes. But I'm leaving now. So can you tell like the other officer that if I present this document, I can pass? Yes, of course I will. So what did I do? I I falsified the document. I went to my computer, I wrote it, I did it, and please, this is not legal advice. Don't do this. But I had to do it. It was the only way because Anna was in Uruguay with the kids. They were sick. She couldn't travel. It was going to be a mess. So I literally did that. I present a false document to the to the officer. They let us in, but we didn't know if they would let us out. We had always that we had always that doubt. Okay, maybe when we got out, they will say, no, 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 you can get out. But they
Okay,
didn't.
so if this is in Tumbes, then the border with, if anyone wants to look up this border, it's nuts. There's so on the Ecuador side, it's Huaquillas, and then on the Peru side, it's Zarumilla. But then the real border is in a town called Tumbes, where, as he mentioned, Martin mentioned, they have the Peruvian and the Ecuadorian border authorities are like in the building so that you can kind of get both stamps side by side. But the whole area is just like wild. There's motor
Everywhere,
taxis
yeah.
with the three wheels, and it's not like it looks very third world. And honestly, what Martin is talking about is probably like the least corrupt thing that happened that day in
Yeah.
Tumbes. It's a wild place.
It is, it is. Yeah, normally all the borders are sketchy. And I remember, I think we didn't mention a lot about Central America, but the worst one was when we got into Nicaragua.
Mm,
It was super sketchy. First, when you got to a border, there's a lot of immigrants. So some people offer you help to cross the border. And one of the things all people told us, you don't need help, is worse. But in Nicaragua, the person who offered us help was a friend of the officer of the customs. So it was super sketchy. At the end, they made us go through the container scanner with the cars. Okay,
mhm.
it was the only time it happened. But I don't know if you guys know, but in Nicaragua, you cannot bring drones.
I
It's
have heard
forbidden.
that.
Drones are forbidden in Nicaragua. And we had drones, and we had 3 drones. So it was super sketchy. It was, and we couldn't. What would you do with the drones? We cannot hide them in the scanner. So I passed first, and then I asked the officers, "Hey, can you show me? I want to know the picture of the scanner, just to see how it is." And then I learned that, of course, the scanner, they are supposed to scan trucks, so they just scan the top side of the car. And then I told Oliver, just put it in the front. Don't worry about that. They won't scan the front, and no one knows. Tesla had the front. We don't have
Uh-huh.
an engine in the front of the car. We have a
Right.
space that we to basically to put. We had all our camera gears in the front, so in the end we could pass, and it was, oh man, thank God the scanner is higher enough. And it was one of the sketches because yes, they like all some in, no, I won't say all of them, but some places they is the pressure, they try to help you, but it's like the mafia help, if you don't help me, bad things can happen. It's not nice. It's the worst part of the trip. You have to have a lot of photocopies of all your documents, and don't accept any help because it's not it's worse than that. Okay, going back to Chile.
Mm-hmm.
In Chile, we got to Chile, and in Chile we have a lot charging infrastructure, so it was nicer. But in the like, but having we thought it was going to be easy to charge, but when we got to the first charging station, it was only for Chileans. We couldn't add the app to our phones if we were not from Chile.
Wow.
So it was also a struggle. As usual, we struggle a little bit, research a little bit, and solve it. Like our main goal was solving problems, and we did. We solved the problems, and we continued to the south with a charging network. It was amazing, super fast, going south in Chile until Puerto Montt, where we took a ferry, and we did great part of the Carretera Austral. If you guys have the chance to do the Carretera Austral one day, do it, because it's incredible. It's amazing. It was amazing. And by the way, in the ferry, it was like 14 hours. We could charge the cars in the ferry because we asked for permission from the captain to
Nice.
plug our cars to the outlet, and they said yes. So we slowly, but we could charge the cars during the ferry ride to the other side of the beginning of Carretera Austral. And then Carretera Austral, it was also incredible. And then we got to a point that we could, to cross to Argentina again, we had a long route and we have a short route. The long route would take us one more day, and we didn't have time to spend. So we asked, how was the short run, the short road, sorry. And people told, no, it's perfect, it's okay, don't worry, you can do it. So we charged it before the border. We had to hurry up because some borders close like at 8 o'clock at night. They close, so you cannot cross until the other day. So at 7:30, we went to the border, and we crossed to Argentina. But then the road was not nice as they told us. So we had to go like 20 miles an hour for several hours because it was super bad road.
Mm.
It got also cold, and it was the only time that one of the cars ran out of battery. So 20 miles, 20 kilometers, or miles of kilometers, I don't know, so like very close to our final destination, the Model X ran out of battery, and I had to continue by myself. So they stay in the car. I continue by myself. I got to the hotel. I think it was 12 at midnight. I got with 0% my range was literally zero, and had been zero for several meters.
Mm-hmm.
But I could get to the hotel, and then the rescue operation began. Start to call. I don't know. We could got a truck that could like basically a truck bed that could raise the Tesla and bring it to the hotel. And I think at 6 o'clock. And oh, by the way, we didn't have cellular access where we run out of battery.
Mm-hmm.
We had satellite phone, but I don't know, it didn't work. So we were. I told the guy from the truck. I gave him the direction, and I don't trust in God, but I pray anyway. Like I hope he will find them. And at 6 p.m. they came back with the car in the bed. We could charge the car and sleep a little bit. And again, solving another problem, another problem that we faced, but we could solve it. It was good at the end.
Amazing. So
should I
you made
should
it
I
all the way
continue?
to. Yeah, yeah. Keep going. So you made it all the way
Beginning of
to
Patagonia.
Ushuaia. Beginning. Yeah.
Well, this was Patagonia. Then we have Ruta 40. It was also a difficult difficult roads in Ruta 40, and cold and a lot of wind. And we had long stretches of roads to drive. So we literally had to see the forecast of the winds to see if we could make it. And we had to decide. Yeah, I'm not kidding about this. It was like wind. So if you have the wind in your favor, oh man, it was a piece of cake. But for some parts, we had the wind against you. So you could drive at 60 kilometers an hour, but you have 50, 60 kilometers against you. So it was the range of the cars were really affected with that, and we had to be super careful and decide when to start the trip, considering the winds, and they had strong winds. And then we got to Calafate. No, the
Mhm.
Calafate. We spent Anna and the kids flew from Uruguay to Calafate. We spent Christmas in Calafate. It was awesome. The kids were with me again and with us. So and then we crossed all the Patagonia to to Ushuaia. Not easy, super difficult, long stretching. Charging was a struggle, but for us it was our normal life already. So we had to get to a hotel, ask for permission. They would ask a lot of questions. In the end, they will let us charge, so we could charge and continue. It was great. It was great. And of course, when I got to Ushuaia, I couldn't stop crying because it was 5 years of planning, 5 years of dreaming. Not like
Yeah, I can
we had
imagine.
to cancel the trip several times because I have one kid, COVID, then the second kid, but we did it, and here we are.
And from Ushuaia, did you send the car in a container?
Ah, no. That's a funny story. Oliver and Tutti, they are surfers, and you know what they did a couple of times? They went surfing with their car kids in their shorts, and as you can imagine, they broke both keys. So in the beginning, like the keys were not useless because you could put the key near the car and it will open the car. But at some point, that stopped working. So in Ushuaia, I remember we went to see the penguins, and Oliver stopped, and the car closed itself, and we didn't have internet connection. So we couldn't open the car and we couldn't start the car to continue the trip. So in the end, we could. This is in documentary. The first episode it started with that. With I was in the top of the Model X with the phone in my hands to trying to see if we could get some cellular signal. In the end, we could open the car and start it, but then we realized we were not going. It was not possible to drive the car to Buenos Aires because we have long parts of Argentina that does not have internet connections, and without internet connections, we couldn't start the car. So in the end, I drove by
Ah,
myself. We sent one of the cars. We sent it with a truck to Buenos Aires, and Anna and the kids flew to Montevideo again, and I drove by myself the last 2 weeks of the trip. And by the way, I love that part of the trip being by myself. I think it was like I started to dream this trip by myself, and I couldn't do it because I had a team and I have a family. So these 2 weeks, I don't know if it might sound weird, but I needed to be by myself for some weeks, and it was incredible. And I met some incredible people that helped me charge the car, and I was by myself. It was a little challenging in some parts, but there's a saying that if you want to far away, go together. But if you want to go fast, go by yourself. And that's absolutely true. We did all this trip because we had a team, and that was super important to accomplish the difficult of breaking a record. But in the end, I had to go fast to Uruguay, and I did it by myself, and it was, I don't know, it was great for me.
So you brought the car all the way up
Mhm.
to Uruguay. You brought
Yeah.
both of the cars there ultimately.
Yes, uh, yes. The Model 3 is my car, and is the one I use now. Uruguay does not allow to import used cars, but if you're a Uruguayan that you return to your country, you can bring your car. That's why I can drive it here.
Mm,
But the other one, we ship it to Miami, and we had to sold it because remember we had a loan that we had to pay. So we
mm.
we ship it to Miami and we sold. And by the way, we bought the car $110,000 because it was the when Tesla were like fire super expensive, and we sold it for 60,000. So we had a big loss on that, but well, that's part of life. So we,
Wow.
we sold it, the second one.
And you made a full feature length documentary about the process.
Well, we are doing a docu series of the adventure. We
Hmm.
have the first episode almost ready. I can share with you, and maybe I don't know if we can share it publicly, but I can definitely send it to you. But we are
Yeah, I'd
in the
love to
process
watch
of
it.
yeah, yeah, okay, I will. We're fundraising for the other 8 episodes of the trip because the post production is we're trying to do it in a very high quality, so it takes a lot of effort, and we have to hire editors, the sound, the color, the like, it's a lot of people involved in the process of the post production of the documentary.
Oh,
So
you
we are
got
in
to
the
get that
process of
out. You got to get that out. It's
we
like,
know it will, yes, yes, it will like as everything we did with the trip, it will take a lot of effort. It may sound impossible, but we will do it. There's no other way.
yeah, seriously. Because there was another group that did it in some sort of electric car, right? And they
Yes,
made a
yes.
documentary. What was that documentary called?
I don't know if they made a documentary. We have two. First of all, they have some people. Evan McGregor.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
drove.
Ewan
Yeah, they drove.
McGregor.
Yeah, they drove from Ushuaia to LA. Not all the Pan American Highway. They drove it.
Long
But they
way
drove
up.
a
Long
long
way
way up.
up.
Exactly, long way up. Electric motorcycles, Harley motorcycles, and their support team were Rivians. And for us, they changed our trip because they installed a lot of chargers along the way, and some of them we use for our trip. Some of them we had to
They
take the like
installed a
the
lot.
spider
For a
nets.
second, I thought you said they stole a lot. Okay, they
No,
installed
no,
a
no,
lot
no,
of
no. They install,
chargers.
install.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And of course, most of them does not exist anymore, but some of them did, and we use them, and it made our life much easier because it's called level 2 chargers, so we could charge mostly overnight.
Hmm.
Piece of cake for us. And then before us, some years before, there was an electric, no, sorry, an engineer team from, I think, from Europe that drove an electric car from Alaska to Ushuaia, but it was a special purpose built car. So it was not a production car, and they did it with a lot of support, and because well, but they did. So we were not the first to do it with electric car. We were the first to do it with production electric car, a car that anyone can go and buy,
Hmm. And
and that's the
300,
only two I know.
kilometers of range at a time, roughly,
Yes.
right?
Oh, sorry. By the way, people don't know, I'm recovering from 2 weeks sickness. That's why I'm coughing. Sorry about that.
No worries. It almost helps us make this story seem more epic, like you're overcoming obstacles.
That was the trip. And by the way, that's I from long for a long time. I used to think how those people who made incredible things in their lives, and I don't know, Elon Musk or Mandela, and basically, if you study their lives, they devote their life to their mission, and that's
Mhm,
the only reason they could do it. If you really want to make something spectacular, you have to devote your life for that, and that sometimes is super selfish because the rest of the world doesn't matter. Mandela was in, I don't know, was in jail for several years, and he's who he is. But imagine his family, like how they, and I'm sure they suffer a lot. Elon Musk, just how many times he got married and divorced, and the kids don't want to see them because he devoted his life to his mission. And something I learned during this trip is that if you want to do something great, you can, but you have to it has to be your only focus. For sometimes I think I was a little selfish doing this. Remember, I have a family, I have two kids.
mhm,
They didn't enjoy this trip with me because they did enjoy, but I didn't do it for them. I did it for me. So sometimes I feel super selfish about it. In the other hand, I'm pretty sure in the future they will see the pictures, see the trip, and be proud. I hope they are proud of me for doing this, for breaking a record.
mhm.
But it's like sour and sweet at the same time. I was obsessed with the trip, and that's the only reason we could make it. In the other hand, we could make it. So I don't know if I was wrong, I was right. If I was selfish, I think I was selfish a little bit. But in the end, we did it, and I'm super proud of myself and of our team and of my family. Anna, I think Anna, until the day I left San Francisco to drive to Anchorage, she thought we were not going to make it. But when she realized we were going to make it, she embraced the project, and she imagine she had to fly several flights with two kids by herself. That's
Mhm.
not easy task. So it required an effort from the family, a big effort.
For sure.
But in the end, I'm happy I did it. I hope I can repeat this trip with the kids when they're older, so they can at least remember it.
And what has come of the trip after completing it? Like, I'm sure you've probably got some appearances in magazines and news and speaking
We did.
engagements.
We did. It also bitter and sour because mainstream media does not like Tesla. So as soon as they learn that we did it in a Tesla, for example, CNN, we talk with them, and then, oh, Tesla. So we don't think that's interesting enough. They told us, and we know that's a lie. So mainstream media, we didn't get featured almost at all. I think I was in an interview. I was interviewed by a San Franciscan TV network, and was I think the only big TV media that we did, like electric EV magazines. Something that's not mainstream, yes, a lot. We had a lot of news about us, and it was pretty amazing. But the thing I think that my 15 minutes of fame was when I was driving by myself from Ushuaia to Uruguay, and I tweet, "Oh, we finally did it!" Blah blah blah, and then I had long stretches of without internet signal, without self signal. But when I got to a point, I had, I don't know, hundreds of notifications in my phone, and I'm not famous. Elon Musk had liked my tweet, and it exploded. So I had millions of views, millions of comments, millions of likes. It was my 15 minutes of fame. So Elon Musk, at least he knows that we did this.
That's epic. That's all you
Yes,
need.
it was epic. Yeah, yeah, we didn't do it for that, but it was like it was nice. It was nice.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations on this epic trip. Wow.
No, thanks so much. I'm sorry if I was not clear on the time frame of my of explaining the trip. I hope people don't get didn't get bored, but I hope they will enjoy the documentary as soon as we release it.
No, I think we did a good job of more or less going in a continuous order with some pauses here and there to answer common questions that people have. I'm trying to think if there was any like common Q&A that people would have that I didn't get to.
I can help you
I
with
can't
that.
even think. Sure.
What people always ask me, what was the thing you like it the most? That's a common question, and I cannot. It was so long. I cannot answer one thing. Like the Americas is incredible. So I think I can't say one place I love it the most. Maybe the one I got more surprised was Argentina, but because I don't know, I didn't have any expectations of the place, and it was superb. So when they ask me what's the place you like it the most, I don't have an answer. Every country has something beautiful and spectacular. The thing I do want to, I always reply is that, but the people of every country are amazing. And if we have something beautiful, is the people in Latin America, and of course in US and Canada, it was incredible. We slept in Whitehorse. We had to one more night, and we didn't have a place to stay. Some random person that we met that day offer us their home to sleep with them. People are incredible. They also ask me what the thing I hate the most: the borders. Oh man, the borders were the worst part of the trip. But if you are prepared and you have some time, you can do it. That's not a problem. So that's the two questions I get the most: the best and the worst.
I definitely have a couple more questions. So I think
Go for it.
one interesting thought is like, even though it was only 2 years ago that you embarked on this, things were even wildly different in 2022 in a couple of respects, and they're going to get a lot easier in the future. One would be Starlink. As you mentioned, you had satellite
Absolutely.
internet, but it was kind of going in and out, whatever. Now with Starlink, you would be much more connected to the internet throughout that trip if you have one of those things.
Much easier, much safer, and we didn't have we wouldn't have to ship the car from Ushuaia to Buenos Aires because with internet connection we could start the car. Yes, we tried to get Starlink, but it was early on and was not possible at that time. So I totally agree with you. Starlink today is an incredible tool for overlanders. Absolutely.
And then the other one would just be the growth of the supercharger network and really just electrification of countries in general. I remember when I was looking into this, I saw that there was like a bit of a like different countries would have like their own little movements, and I would see these articles on Google News, and it would be like Nicaragua just added 50 charging stations, this and that, and that was like right around when you did the trip. So it's almost like you did the trip, and then maybe like a couple months later, a lot of countries announced like supercharger networks, and you're like, God damn it! If only I waited a couple months.
Uh, it was absolutely like that. Even like I started to plan for this trip like 5 years ago or 6 years ago, and there was no charging network at, at all beside US, of course. And it's incredible how fast are we growing in that infrastructure. So if people want to have some people ask me, okay, should I have an electric car? My answer is, of course, electric cars are much better than normal cars, than icy cars. But you need the infrastructure. And today we have much better infrastructure than 5, even 3 years ago. So you're absolutely right. I think every year this trip won't be epic anymore. It will take a longer time
It'll be
also,
the normal way
but
of doing
but
it.
it will be absolutely. I agree. It will be the normal way of doing it, and I don't think we will have to wait 5 years for this. I think in the next couple of years, it will be. We will have the charging infrastructure to do it much easier.
Yeah, because when I was looking at this, I was really like, okay, should I get like a Hilux diesel or Mercedes Sprinter van diesel? And then I was like, a Tesla would be sick. Is it doable? And so that's kind of where I'm at, where I'm like, you know what? I think I'll probably just do a Tesla and wait a couple more years. It's going to be easy peasy.
No, do it in the Cybertruck.
The cyber
That's a very good
exactly.
option.
I've literally tweeted this.
Ah,
I've literally tweeted this multiple times. I'm gonna be the first guy to cruzar las Americas in a Cybertruck.
I'll join you if you let me with my kids because
Deal. I need.
you should definitely. I like. I promised my wife I was not going to embark on an adventure like this, but I think I lied.
Yeah, that's funny. Cybertruck, it is amazing. So we'll let you keep recovering from the respiratory things. So we'll get to wrapping up now. You've been super generous with your time, Martin.
That
Um,
was great
bef-
conversation. Thank you so much.
Before we wrap, do you have any final message you want to share with the audience? Anything at all?
Well, I think that if you really want something, if you really want something, and you should go for it. Don't expect to be free. Don't expect to be easy. It depends on how much you want that thing. But if you're chasing a dream, go for it. You can do it. It's not easy, but it's doable. I remember one of the in the beginning of the trip, we were struggling if we could do it, if we should do it, and then Oliver and Tutti they spoke with a Nat Geo adventurer, and he told us a message. He told us if you expect everything to be ready to start, you won't do it. You won't you Most people wait for everything to be perfect to start something, and that's why they don't do it. Just go for it. And the like we say in Spanish, las cosas las cosas se arreglan en el carro, no? Like when you start, you will figure out how to the next step will be. Don't expect everything to be solved to begin with. Go for that first step. The Chinese says even even 1,000 kilometers trip start with the first step, and that's absolutely true. You're in mute. I'm not hearing
Oh,
you. Sorry.
sorry. There was a little construction noise here. Uh, and oh, one last thing. So I think in the past 2 years, Tesla expanded to Mexico in terms of selling the cars, and I think they're
Yes.
more. They're going to
And
get
now Chile.
more
And
official.
Chile.
Now Chile has official
Yes.
has official stores. Okay, so
Yes.
that makes
Yes.
it a little easier. So I can get
Yes.
as long as I can get the car to Chile or something. Because one thing it's interesting because there's not a lot that you have to maintain on the cars. They're the cars with like the lowest maintenance. But as you said, you just can't have anyone bust a window, or there's only a couple things you really got to take care of, right?
Yes. Isn't like no maintenance at all. Like the only maintenance you have to put water to the wind to clean your the windows,
Hmm.
and then nothing else. It's incredible. But you have to be careful with the batteries that are in the bottom of the car. So we have to be a little careful. And I always say, like, I left my mark in Latin America because from Mexico to Ushuaia, I literally hit in every speed bump that they had and we have a lot of speed bumps in Latin America, and a
Yes.
small part of my car are in every speed bump because the Model 3 is so low that I
You're
had to cross
scraping those
all the
batteries.
Oh man,
Uh,
yes. Not that you have some protections, but yes, you have to be careful. But
so would you lift it?
I
Like if
touch.
you had it, if you had like a Model Y or something, would you try to get it lifted?
Yes, absolutely.
Try
The
to get it
Model X,
lifted?
you press a button and it goes up, so it
Yeah,
has
yeah.
higher clearance. It's much better.
Okay, good tip. Good tip. Random note to end on, but I mean, I love the little tips here and there. So let's do it. So my guest today, Martin Canabal from Electric
Hmm.
Americas, documentary coming soon. Really excited about
Hopefully,
that.
yes.
This has been another episode of the My Latin Life podcast. Wherever you're listening to this podcast, maybe it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, X, please be sure to follow, like, subscribe. We put out 2 podcasts a week, so subscribe to the podcast. Amazing guests. You won't want to miss an episode. Thanks again to Martin. Thanks to all of you for listening. Ciao for now.
Thank you. It was a great conversation. Thank you.
This episode of the My Latin Life podcast is brought to you in part by Bit Refill. Bit Refill is the best way to spend your crypto in Latin America. Purchase gift cards or mobile refills from more than 3,500 brands in 186 countries instantly, safely, and privately. Visit bitrefill.com for more information. This episode of the My Latin Life podcast is brought to you in part by Job Stacking. Introducing Rolf Haltza's Paycheck Multiplication Layering Method, a revolutionary approach that redefines the traditional career path. This is Rolf's new Done With You program where he'll work with you to implement job stacking for yourself. With this method, Rolf contractually guarantees that you'll be able to double your income in 45 days. So, are you ready to step out of the shadows of job insecurity and step into a world of career abundance? Then just click the link in the description of this episode, book a call with Rolf, and start walking the path of unleashing your earning potential with job stacking.